Oh, good afternoon. Well, good morning. It's almost afternoon. I'm Podcast Pete. I'm on here with the baseball guys. All I'm going to do is introduce the baseball guys and then I will exit the podcast. So, on here is Jim Raps. He when he's not talking baseball, he's with Ridley Commercial Cleaning, 48 years. And over here to the other side is Larry Howser. When he's not entertaining and singing and keeping my seniors laughing, he's talking baseball. And you might recognize his last name. So we'll get into that. So, guys, welcome to the baseball guys. I'll be behind the scenes as the editor, and you guys have the floor. Just introduce yourself to our audience, and then you guys can go from there.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Larry.
That's Jim. Good to see you, Jim.
Yeah, that was a quick introduction.
Yeah, there you go. They know who we are, right?
Yeah.
And it says right underneath you who you are. So
There you go.
yeah. So we talked a little bit last week about the changes in baseball in the last couple of years and how much we disliked them, but they did work out pretty well. So
Some of them.
Yeah, some of them. I thought today we'd talk about one guy who changed the rules just from being so dominant in the sport, and that was the 1968 season of Bob Gibson. Okay, yeah, he broke into the league in 1959. Played a little hoop too. I think he played with the Globetrotters one year. He had some pretty good years leading up to 68, but in 1968, Gibson he led the league in ERA. If you can imagine, his ERA
Microscopic.
was 1.12. And he went 22-9 with the Cardinals, who ended up winning the World Series. But how do you lose 9 games with a 1.12? Because it's not like
I can tell you.
Uh-huh.
Part of the reason is there were some really dominant pitchers back then he was going up against.
Yeah.
So my guy was Tom Seaver. The memories I have of Seaver and Gibson, 1-0 games, 2-1 games, 3-2 games.
Yep.
You also had Steve Carlton and guys like that. You know that Gibson was great, but and that was also towards, I think he pitched in the Sandy Koufax era as well.
Yeah, he did.
Koufax's career got cut short, unfortunately, by injury. But
he had an arthritic elbow.
Yeah. So Gibson, as great as he was, and there were also some really good hitters back in those days too.
Right. At least in the National League, because I looked at the stats, and in the American League, Carl Yastrzemski won the batting title. He led the league in hitting with a 301 batting average. So basically,
which is kind of low by today's standards.
Oh, I mean, he's the only guy that hit 300 in the American League. Now over in the National League, Rose hit 335.
Yeah.
Matty Alou was with Pittsburgh. He hit 332, so he missed the batting title by a couple of hits. And then his brother was in Atlanta. Philippe Alou hit 317, and Kurt Flood, who we all know, broke the free agency deal. He hit 301 in St. Louis. So yeah, there were dominant pitchers. That was the year Denny McClain won 30 games with Detroit.
Yeah. Well, see, we're never going to see this again.
No,
not such a bold prediction, because we're lucky if starting pitchers get out of the 5th inning these days.
Right.
And the bullpens are constructed differently. Guys are blowing out their elbows and their arms and everything else. And Gibson and Seaver, it was in those days, it was almost like if they didn't go 9 and sometimes 10, you were saying, like, what's wrong with them?
Right.
So these days that doesn't happen. It's a completely different game. I don't think we're ever going to see. I think after who do we have right now? Verlander, maybe, where is he? And Scherzer and maybe a couple other guys might make 300. I don't think after this.
300 wins now.
I don't think we're ever going to get to 300 wins again as a starting pitcher.
Now, along that line of bullpens and everything, I think the one stat, and I'm not, I like stats because it gives you an idea how good the players were. But that year, complete games, like you were talking about with bullpens, Juan Marichal had 30 complete games. Gibson had 20. Gibson had 28 complete games. He had how many shutouts did he have? He had 13 shutouts with 28 complete games. Ferguson Jenkins had 20 complete games. Gaylord Perry was like the king of the complete. He didn't want to come out.
Yeah.
And he had like 35, 28, 31, but he had 19. That was an off year for him. He only finished 19 games. Now guys won't have 19 complete games in their career.
No, not even close, most of them.
And
Same
then
with shutout.
and then you go to the hitting. Now, how much more difficult is it for, let's say, Matt Olson compared to, I don't know, I don't want to compare him to Lou Gehrig, but another left-handed hitter, any left-handed hitter. They're seeing the same guy in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. They're seeing the same guy 3 or 4 times a year, 4 at-bats a game. Now, if it's a 6th or 7th inning and the game's on the line, a man on or 2 men on, anybody, a lefty especially, Olson, Harper, they're going to see the lefty out of the bullpen who throws 90 miles an hour.
Right.
That's a huge difference between, seeing that same guy, because you only got so many pitches in your repertoire, right?
Yeah, and that's what makes it so challenging for these hitters these days. And I don't know, we have some good pitchers, but it's really the, I think what you're saying, it's really the bullpen specialists that are there that every team has, right? They bring in the righty, they bring in the lefty. Whereas in the old days, I mean, they would just face the starting pitcher in the 8th inning. And now they're getting fresh arms coming out of the pen, and they're supposed to try to do something with 100-mile-an-hour gas.
Right.
Which then, again, I don't want to maybe change the subject, but that's where you're getting all these injuries as well.
Yeah. Then you look at, over in the American League in Cleveland, they finished 3rd. That was before divisional play. They finished 3rd in the league, American League. They had Louis Tiant won 21 games. His ERA was 1.60. And following him was Sudden Sam McDowell, who back then was hard as anyone, a big lefty for Cleveland. His ERA was 1.81, and he won 22 games.
Yeah.
So, just pitching was dominant. And here's what happened. Okay, during that winter, as you know, he said, we got to do something. We got to bring hitting into the game. You know what you said, chicks love the long ball. And
that was more the 90s. Yeah.
Yeah. But people wanted to see, or at least the hierarchy in baseball believed that people wanted to see a little bit more offense than a 2-1 game, 1-0 game every night, which is great if you're a real, purist baseball fan. Nothing wrong with, Pedro versus Clemens or something like that. But what they did was, that was the year going into 1969 that they lowered the mound. Now everybody remembers, or people that follow baseball remember, they lowered the mound. But what else did they do? They shrunk the strike zone from upper armpit, below the shoulders, to just at the lower part of the knee. So they brought the strike zone up to the top of the knee and the lower part of the armpit. So it may not have changed. A lot of umpires probably still call the game the same way, but over the next few years, once that strike zone took hold and they were, more probably informed by the league, hey, this is the strike zone we're using. And the other thing that they did was, I believe that was the year that they really looked at guys doctoring the ball. I don't know if that was when the spitball was outlawed. I think the spitball was outlawed a little bit earlier than that. And when the spitball, we'll look at that next week. When the spitball was outlawed, the guys who threw a spitball, Burley Grimes and a few of those guys, they were grandfathered in.
Well, didn't Gaylord Perry throw the spit too?
He threw the Vaseline ball, the puff ball with the rosin bag. I mean, and his thing was mind games too. am I throwing it this time? Do I have anything on me? You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, the spitball guys, if you threw a spitball going into and we'll look at that next week, like I said, when that was outlawed. But if you threw the spitball, you were still allowed to throw the spitball. Now, if you're a rookie coming up or whatever, no more spitballs. But I thought that was interesting to grandfather in doctoring the ball. So
yeah, that's kind of weird. That's kind of weird. But yeah, I for one preferred those 2-1 games.
Oh yeah.
And by the way, with Major League Baseball, with these rule changes, correct me if I'm wrong or you don't agree. I think the main reason why they had these rule changes is because they want to speed the game up,
right?
Because they want it. They're figuring they're going to get more viewers. People are bored watching baseball because the game goes for too long. I don't know how anybody could say baseball is boring, but that's just me. If it's a 4-hour game, it's a 4-hour game. If I can stay awake, right, anymore, because games start later now than they used to start as well. Right. But yeah, they wanted more offense, and that's why on a different podcast we can talk about the steroid era and why I feel baseball was completely complicit in that.
Why? Yeah, they knew what was going on.
They knew what was going on.
Right.
They absolutely did. But yeah, they wanted more offense, and they got more offense. No doubt.
Exactly. Well, Gibson went into the Hall of Fame in 1981. He also, in that 1968 season, he gave up. Now listen to this. All those other numbers are crazy. 13 shutouts is crazy. But he averaged giving up 5.8 hits per 9 innings. So that's over all of his starts. He could have a game, where he gave up 10 hits or something. But he averaged 5.8 hits per 9 innings. And he didn't even lead the league. He didn't lead baseball. He led the National League. But Tiant over in Cleveland was giving up 5.3 hits per game.
Okay, so you're coming. You have this stuff from a little bit before I remember, and you and we can maybe talk a little bit about again your brother and how your closeness to Major League Baseball, which I never did have. So when you referenced Gibson before, coming into the league in '59, that's the year I was born.
Right.
So I don't, yeah, I've seen clips and yes, I read things and whatnot, but I don't have that point of reference with you. Luis Tiant. Now, when you say Tiant, I remember him mostly with the Red Sox.
Right. Yeah,
that's where
the Red Sox. I know he was with the Yankees in '80 when my brother managed the Yankees in '80. He was there, and they were teammates. In Cleveland, probably let's say 64, maybe 65.
Yeah.
You get the White Sox games in West Palm Beach, where I grew up. For some reason, we got the White Sox, Milo Hamilton, and a couple other guys. But when they would play Cleveland, we would listen to the game. I remember laying in my parents' bed in the dark, listening to the game. And I could hear my brother, because they used to chatter a little bit, not hey, batter, but, but I could hear him saying, come on, Louie. It would always be, come on, Louie.
Yeah.
I knew that was, so you could tell, you recognize his voice. So, back then, of course, one game a week on TV, you got more as you were growing up. The Mets and the Yankees, but we got one game a week, so radio was huge.
I love radio. I love listening to the games on the radio. Yeah. So for those of you who are watching, listening, and don't know it, Larry is the brother of Dick Howser, and Dick Howser, I remember. I actually forgot until you told me recently that he did manage the Yankees. I picture your brother with Kansas City.
Right.
That's I see him with the blue Kansas City hat on.
Right.
That's how I remember him, and I remember that he did win a World Series with them.
Right.
And so why don't you tell us a little bit about? I mean, you sat on the bench with some of these superstars that we know.
Right. Yeah, I got to go up there. I got on with Delta Airlines in '76. We went up to New York, flew into Newark, went over to the Yankee Stadium, and got to go in the clubhouse before the game, meet Yogi, Sparky Lyle.
That's awesome.
All those guys. Yeah. And then, when before the game started during BP and all, I sat in the dugout and, got to talk to Billy for a second, Billy Martin. And, that was just a fabulous team. They won the World Series in '77 and '78.
And '8. Yeah.
But, it was when they got Reggie. They got Reggie. in 77, they'd won their first pennant in like 13 years when Shamlis hit the home run to beat Kansas City in the playoffs. But yeah, once they got Reggie, they really took off.
Didn't he hit 3 home runs in one of those games?
Yeah, in the 77 World Series, yeah, he hit 3 home runs in I believe it was game 6. But if you go back to the games in LA, he also hit a home run in his last at bat. I think his third at bat, he hit a home run in LA. Then he walked. Then they went back to New York and he hit 3 home runs there. So he hit 4 home runs in 4 official at bats.
Yeah.
So
amazing.
And I mean, the first one was a nice, home run. The second one was what they call a chair breaker. It was just a line drive like into the second row in right field. And then he hit off 3 different pitchers. He hit the last one off Charlie Huff, the knuckleball, straightaway.
Yeah. And I had a front row seat to the Steinbrenner Reggie Jackson battle back and forth in the New York tabloids.
Oh yeah.
Living in New Jersey. And boy, those guys got at each other all the time. And of course, fiery Billy Martin. And I love Jackson's. I forget exactly. I think I remember seeing this in a headline or on the back page of the New York Daily News, something like "I'm the straw that stirs the drink."
Yeah.
So Reggie
did not back down from controversy, no doubt.
No, and he liked the credit. In other words, what he was saying is, "Hey, we're winning because I'm here."
On this podcast, Pete, you talk about promotional. Reggie was the premier self-promoter, and what's wrong with that? Because I think his line was, "I put the meat in the seats," and it's true.
He was the Muhammad Ali of baseball, kind of.
Yeah, right.
If you think about it,
he was
right.
Yeah, I got to meet Reggie a couple times. He flirted with my wife, and unabashedly flirted with my wife the first time we met him. But I tell you what, my brother said, between the lines, nobody better than Reggie.
Yeah.
And you gotta admit, because my brother was the third base coach when he's cranking out home runs, and I think he was the MVP in 80 when my brother managed the Yankees. I think he had 44 that year. He may have finished second. I'm not sure. We'll look it up later. But yeah, Reggie was, and Steinbrenner was. I mean, I met him a couple times. Had lunch with him. Greatest guy in the world, unless you worked for him. Then it was an adventure.
So you met the man. Are you a Seinfeld fan at all?
Oh yeah, big time.
All right. So in your opinion, did Larry David do a good Steinbrenner?
Oh yeah, he did. He did. He did a better. What's the politician from the New England area? The guy that ran for president, Bernie Sanders. He does a better Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did a great Steinbrenner. Yeah, he really did.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. So you want to talk about any of those rule changes or what?
Did we talk about the rule changes last time? How much we really didn't like them? Yeah, I don't think with the bigger bases and you can only throw over twice.
The one. Yeah, we can skip over that a little bit, but the one I still hate, and I don't think I'll ever like it, is that designated runner on second base in extra innings.
Right. Yeah, and I said, because I said, why not play the 10th inning straight up and then go to the 11th? You don't like that, and I don't blame you.
I don't even like that. No.
I call it. Some people call it the ghost runner, like when we were kids. I call it the Manfred man.
So you know what? You want to get attendance up. You want to sell the game more to the young people in our country that are watching football and basketball.
I got the answer right there. Yeah.
Huh? Yeah. So what you do?
Lower beer prices.
Yeah, there's one. But how about this? Start the games earlier. Let's have some more day games like the Cubs used to play day game. I know it's all ruled by the TV and the money and the commercials, but come on. And how about work with the kids in the inner cities and in other neighborhoods and whatnot, and teach them the game and organize the game more. Get these kids excited about playing baseball. Every young person I meet now that wants to play sports, it's either football or basketball. Nobody wants to play baseball anymore. And so you wonder why the interest is down. Well, you and I remember when we were in grammar school even, these games were starting, the playoffs in the World Series were starting in the afternoons. Right. And sometimes we were lucky, they would wheel a TV in from the AV room and let you watch it. The teachers let you watch it in the classroom. These days are gone.
You watch Baltimore shut out the Dodgers, or the Dodgers shut out the Yankees, or whoever
something
it might be at the time.
Or watch everybody.
There are good people that are working in the inner cities with baseball. I know Marquise Grissom does a lot of work in Atlanta.
Good.
But here's the problem, and you know this. What do you need to play basketball? A basketball and a hoop. What do you need to play football? A field and a football to play baseball. Right.
Yeah. But
balls, bats, gloves. Maybe you could.
Yes. If you want to go to that level, yes. But some of the best times in my life was my brother Joey and I just throwing the ball back and forth.
Right. Yeah, you can make games up. Stick ball.
You get a stick ball and you get a bat, and you would just go in the street and you'd break a window or two now and then. But that happened. It happened, right?
Right.
It was okay.
Yeah.
So
I was going to tell you, I was talking to a friend of mine about the Mets, and
do we have to go there?
Yeah, we do. I asked him. I said, "How many ball players on the Mets roster?" And he said, about half of them.
Good one, Larry. Good one.
And then I said, well, you guys are only 1 or 2 players away from having a pretty good outfield. You like that? Like that, Jim?
Oh, that's really good. Actually, I don't think our outfield is our biggest problem right now.
No, it's not.
You know what? It's funny.
It's your owner. But
I was saying to my daughter, Amanda, who's a big Mets fan, I was saying, hey, like we're on a little winning streak. Oh yeah, we're playing the Nationals. So I mean,
yeah,
let's see what happens when we play the Dodgers and the Braves.
Oh, let's see what happens when you go to London. They're going to London Saturday and Sunday to play the Phillies.
It would be nice if they could at least split that, but the Phillies are powerful. The Phillies are really good. The Mets, look, I'll always be a Mets fan, but I respect other talent, especially the Braves, what they've been able to do. And the Mets are at best the third best team in their division right now. So the Phillies and the Braves are both better than the Mets are.
Right. Luckily, you got the Marlins. Yeah, luckily you got the Marlins and the Nats.
Right. So and if the Mets don't watch it, they'll be ahead of them pretty soon too. So
well,
it's just the way it is.
I know it is. Yeah, I mean, you make the deals, and then guys get hurt, and
All right, so I got a trivia question for you.
Okay.
With your Yankee background, I just gave
you know the answer. No, that's the only rule. You have to know the answer.
But I just gave you a big clue by saying that. See? All right, so anybody watching can play along at home or wherever you are. Who hit the first home run in the Houston Astrodome?
I'm going to guess Mickey Mantle.
That is a really good guess.
Oh, should I have said that or should I have waited?
No, that's good.
But I wanted people to play along. We're quick around here. That's right.
Let me tell you why people don't usually get the answer to that. They'll look back and they'll say, okay, well, in those days, the Astros were in the National League.
Right.
The Yankees, of course, are in the American League, and there was no interleague play.
Right.
So how could that be?
Yeah, that exhibition game, right?
It was an exhibition game. I never said it was a regular season game. It's just who hit the first home run, and that was Mickey Mantle.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, that was not prearranged. I actually happened to know that.
No. And I've got more, but, we can save those for when we do some trivia.
Well, I have one for anybody who happens to Pete's going to like the 4 people who happen to be listening right now. And that is okay.
We're 3 of them.
And this is 68, so I know it's a little before your time. But Yaz, like we said, Yaz led the league with a .301 batting average. He had a teammate with the Red Sox who led the American League in RBIs with 109 RBIs. Who would that have been?
I do not know.
I didn't really expect you to because you were how old? 7?
Which year was that?
68?
Yeah, I was 9.
Yeah. Okay, so this guy led the league in RBIs with 109, playing with the Red Sox.
Give me a clue.
I'll give you a hint. he became a really good broadcaster. That's all.
Sox.
Yeah. No. Who did it? Yeah, a different Sox.
Ken Harrelson.
Yeah, it was Harrelson. Yeah.
There you go.
Ken
I
the
just
Hawk
needed a little
Harrelson.
boost.
There you go. You did good. All right, we're about out of time. I know it flies by when you're talking baseball.
Absolutely.
So maybe next time we'll have a beer, right? While we're doing it.
Well, I don't know. It is
enough
it's just barely the afternoon right now.
Well, I know, but they play baseball over in Europe now, and it's like 5 o'clock over there.
Yeah,
right?
Trust me.
There's Pete.
I love a cold beer, Larry, but I'll tell you what, if I had a beer at this time of the day, I'd be sleeping within the hour.
Hey, you and Joe Biden, you'd be good.
Yeah.
Nap time.
All right, we just crossed the line.
Oh, well, we cover
what we're going to do. We're going to bring back the baseball guys next week. If you have any questions you'd like to submit to the baseball guys, just put your comments underneath the YouTube channel and they'll answer your questions live on the air. Thank you guys for
All right, Jim, we'll see you.
Adios, guys. Thank you.
All right.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.